Welcome in everyone. A little earlier floating charts today. Gonna be doing a double session here on unusual whales. Gonna be doing whale watch again this afternoon with Nvidia earnings. So just wanted to kind of get a live stream going early here. And if anybody has any flow or questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I want to kind of do a quick look at Nvidia earnings. Really, it's going to be a really interesting report here. So let's just, I'm going to open up a new tab. I want to keep my other tabs open in case so we don't miss anything. Oh, if I could type here, that would be nice. So Nvidia earnings here. Did you, yeah, Bean, feel free to drop it. We can take a peek at that too. There's been a lot of Nvidia flow, a lot of call flow coming in. I do want to, okay, earnings. So our earnings move here. So the interesting thing I am noticing with Nvidia earnings here, they have out of the last 4 quarters reported, we've beat earnings per share twice, missed here, expecting $1.52 per share here this afternoon. I'm just looking at that historical move here on Nvidia. 5 of the last 15 quarters have hit that implied move here. I actually needed to drop one more quick thing here too. Sorry you guys, don't want to cut you off. 1 second here. Okay, just wanted to pop that in the chat for people too. Yeah, I'm looking at that implied move. 5 of the last 15 quarters have hit that implied move. 4 of them favoring the upside, 1 to the downside there. We are expecting a plus minus move of 5% today. Looks like it's one of the more smaller implied moves since Q4 of 2023. And kind of back here in Q1 of 2023 as well. Mostly expects a little wider swings there on Nvidia, but definitely something to kind of watch. I like it being a smaller implied move because if you get a good move there, then at least if you are playing earnings, which 100% risky, you're more likely to see profits on some contracts here. And average move of almost 3% here. Just kind of looking at that historical move, it's been kind of mixed here the last handful of quarters here. A lot of that negative move post earnings here. You got of Q or 528 earnings. You had positive move after there, but it kind of favoring the downside there for that post earnings move. So something to definitely watch there. So I just kind of want to touch on that. We're going to be doing a deeper dive on this on unusual whales, so I don't want to spend too much time here. So feel free to do that. I want to see those contracts you dropped here, Bean. So let's take a peek at those. First one, yes, this is a very clean contract. Just looking at that off the bat here, you got 20,000 contracts, so only had 10,000 open. So definitely opening flow here. Let's take a peek at the internals here of that flow. I want to come down here to see when that's coming in, and looking like it's at 8:57 time Central Standard. So let me remove this. I'm going to try to do this, see if I can kind of, whoops, maybe if I could type a little better. Come on. Okay, why did my flow get messed up here? Alright, I'm going to go back into it. Whoopsies. Okay, so flow here, 40 cents, nice cheap contracts too. That's what I like if you are risking anything for earnings. Yeah, a lot of these contracts, I mean, very similar timing that entire time. We're going to start from the bottom, though. I'm just kind of trying to look at it on the way down, too. 57, so 1. Well, we already had a lot of volume, so I do have to go over a page. Yeah, a lot of volume on this one. So, and I'm just kind of seeing when that volume's coming in here, too. You're seeing that IV spike, so it's looking like a good find here, Bean. Not surprised you sent me a good find. Yeah, I mean, IV's just increasing when it comes in. So, okay, here is, oh man, we still have another page coming in here. I typically will remove that time filter, but it was being a little funky, so I'm just being a little cautious here. Okay, so it looks like this is probably when it started here, that 8:50-ish time. So, just kind of looking at that here. Just like seeing that IV, how it's kind of sitting at that 63.54 here. This one, so yeah, all of that came in that 8:50 to 9:50 time frame. I could just also do this, I suppose. 8:50 will do 8:49 to 9. We're just going to do this here. So that 8, oh, it's okay. A lot of pages on this one. A lot of pages on this one. I mean, that's a lot of flow coming in there in the 10-minute time frame here. I'm gonna trust your read and say they're buys here. Okay, so here's our 8:50. I'm just trying to see when that timing's about all the same here. 8:51, so 63.45, 63.54. I'm trusting your read on this one. I'm probably not gonna be able to get that full trade. So okay. IV that 8:56, so 63.59. Spot filling up the ask. IV's increasing. IV's increasing here. Spot is filling at the ask still. Again, another IV increase, another IV increase there. Really good looking flow so far, Bean. I told you I trusted you, your read there. Let's see if it goes back without letting me cooperate. So 63, yeah, I mean, this IV is increasing that entire time there. This is very good looking flow here, Bean, especially for earnings flow. And then another repeated hits here. Spot price increases, so it's technically an ascending fill throughout the entire chain of flow there. Looking good, looking good. Yeah, I mean, you see how that IV's increasing that entire time. It's coming up, spot price increases. Yeah, this looks pretty dang good to me, being in, yeah, that spot price. Oh, if this was an earnings flow, man, I would be really, really looking at that. That's a very good find there, being in. We know how earnings flow can go, though. It's a grain of salt, but otherwise that's pretty textbook flow there, where you're seeing that spot price increase, IV increase. I mean, that's a very good find there. You know how I feel. Yeah, the HPQs like that. That flow can look perfect, but then that IV or the earnings report just kind of drops. Let's look at this one. Is this the one that the Unusual Whales account posted a couple days ago here? So a lot of... I don't think it is. I just want to pop out here. Okay, yeah, it's not. So today I am... The first piece that you sent me, I like that one a lot more. There's just a lot of intraday volume on this one. Multi-leg is a tick high. I will make a really strong assumption. You probably saw it earlier in the day when it was very easily read. But that's how earnings flow goes. They're loading that there. I'm gonna guess you probably saw that earlier in the day. But yeah, just kind of with all these big ask side spikes and volume spikes, you're just not getting a super clean read on there. The first one you sent me, I really like that flow. I mean, that looked very good there. Let's see what we got coming in here. And if anybody has any requests or questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I can take a peek at them. And we're gonna go till about probably 2:15, so about another hour, and maybe give or take there. Just whenever I get pinged to do the thing. Does it let you on the stage? Interesting. I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna have to fix that. So, MU flow here, really interesting too. I think I might have talked about this on Whale Watch a little bit. That original flow coming in at 9:05 Central Standard Time. Let's just kind of see how that flow looked when it came in here. So when I see that flow come in, so this flow would look good to me. Obviously, it's a little late now because this was at 9:08 Central Standard Time. That IV spike. So this is why I like seeing a little flow before there. It's not a ton of flow. I'm gonna pop this back just so we can kind of see. So this is other flow that's coming in before it here. This is I like seeing that context before, so you can see when that alert comes in. So this little radar thing, whatever you want to call it, so that means it's a flow alert. So this one's being tagged as a repeated hits. So if you're curious about what the flow alerts actually mean, if you come up to that main page here and you come to that flow alerts tab, you can read about those flow alerts and kind of what they mean, how they're calculated, all that fun stuff there. So I like seeing that there. So that IV spikes when that comes in. So this is what I'm looking for that textbook flow more so. That spot is filling at the ask. That IV spikes. It's not overlapping earnings, so that's a good sign. So we're just following this up. No big changes in the IV. Spot continues to fill at the ask. We look good here, so I mean big chunk here, and that 90801 here. It's only 2 contracts, but assuming because you got a little bid side here too, I would make an assumption that it's potentially related here. Again, we don't know. I would lean, just because it's such small size there, it makes it a little difficult. And I'm looking at that 90803 here, so I wonder if, because these are all about 2 seconds apart here, so it almost looks like all of this could potentially be related. For sure, that repeated hits one, though, since it's marked as that, we'll kind of go with that. So I would read this as a buy. So they'd be buying to open those contracts, which would be bearish overall, and can see how that would be up here now. And excuse me if I'm wrong with this, but I know Gargo, you were asking about this yesterday in the chat about seeing how if a whale is up. So perfect example here. So like you have that really clean entry, and you can just see how it's that really clean volume candle, and you don't have a ton of other little volume candles there. So you can easily see that whale, and that yellow line there is just going to tell you that average fill of the contract, and then what that contract is trading at throughout here. So, and what I was kind of talking about with the filters too, like you want to get flow that's, see if I can find a bad piece of flow here. Let me just pull up something here. Like this is where the filtering comes in here. Where is my interval? So like if you were looking at something like this, like you can see that contract price here, but you just don't know where that whale is. So that's kind of what I was hinting to you about, that filtering. Make sure your filters are up so you can kind of spot that whale. Now if you want to see that entire contract price, that's a whole different story, where if you want to see that full chain. So just my little 2 cents I tried to throw you there, since I know you said you were a little new to unusual whales. Yeah, so that MU flow looked good. How actually Bean dropped something here. I want to not ignore that. Let's see. Blah 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 blah. U.S. government to meet with robot makers as China competition intensifies. Let's take a peek at this. Let's just take a peek here. I got American robot. Yeah, just this might be an after the market read, but yeah, really good article there. Bean, that is something that can be a big factor there. Let's do it. We're going to do the QBTSs here. So again, another clean entry here. You don't see any big volume candles anywhere else. So whatever is coming in today, definitely going to be opening flow. I do like seeing that net call premium up. Anything above that little Middle line there is going to be considered ask side. Calls here, we do have earnings in a day, so keep that in mind. Let's take a peek here. So now, unlike the other flow here, if I remove that time, oh no, okay, we do. Ignore me there. So barring earnings here, I like the look of this flow here. So again, why do I like the look of this flow? You see that IV increase when it's coming in. Spot isn't right at the ask here at the first part of things here, but spread tightens up there. You're at the ask then. IV's not changing around. Looking good here. And that time stamp is 100% the same time there. So I would assume these are buys here. Now again, with it overlapping earnings here, that is a whole nother thing. We can just take a quick peek at the earnings and kind of how it performs though. Oops, why did I click volatility? Yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised that, oh, I was like, that is a very small implied move. That was a 300. That can't be, there's no way, that can't. Well, it might be right. I mean, it was a 20% at 20.64% average move. Man, that would have been a fun one to trade there. A 320.49% expected or implied move there. That's insane. I was going to say that's a very small implied move, but yeah, I mean, plus minus 9.81%. So I mean, it's a big move. It's very risky just with that earnings here. Let's see. So the STM 36,417. Let's take a peek at these. Let's take a peek at these. So let's see. So a lot of previous open interest here. Let's just kind of see how that looks here. More of a, yeah. Okay, yeah. Good eye, Bean. Good eye. Okay, let's do this. So we had, okay, that was the 23rd. I was like, why is my math not mathing there? So, okay, 6,200 on the 23rd. Most of that carrying over, so big positions there. We had 3,900 traded yesterday. A good chunk of that carried over. So we know could be some possible ads, maybe some profit taking there. So that 23rd 139, we were at 175 and then 182. So they could have took some profits off here. I wonder if they're re-adding here. That could be interesting. Yeah, again, I have to double check that open interest tomorrow, but let's actually look at the flow now. See how it looks. Let's take a peek. Oops. So let's see. So no big change in that IV on these when they come in. Not really a super clean read on that. Let's do the second part of that. So 12, 29, 54, so 54, 54. Okay, so I'm going to assume that that 54 time stamp is all the same here. We have a big, so that's 10 minutes earlier, so could be real. It's I'm just trying. I mean, I would assume this is probably related just based off that size and premium, but for the sake of this, we're gonna just overlook it right now. We'll come back to it. So 413, 40, so 29.54. Yeah, I just don't like how that IV kind of bounces towards the end there. Again, just because that IV's bouncing doesn't mean that it's not gonna work out there. We actually had a really good example from the main chat earlier that we were asked about coin, and it was a good example with that IV increasing at the end and coin significantly ran. I mean, that IV's not always make or break. I mean, I would assume with them coming in at the ask here and just kind of looking at that previous flow, if this carries over, I would assume they added to that position there. Yeah, no, exactly, Bean. And good example. Let me actually just go get that from the chat here. Let me find that here. So it was the coin calls here. So, oops, come up here. Like this is one. I mean, a good example. So like these coming in here at that 72.51, and it drops towards the end here. So I mean, it doesn't match that textbook quality where you have that IV increasing. Now if it was that 71.76 and then it turned into that 72.51, that would look very, very good there. But I mean, perfect example here. I mean, you look at that. Oh, sorry. Here we go. I mean, look at that. That thing is massively big, massive run on that, and the IV dropped. So I mean, it's different. Where, geez, those things absolutely printed. Like, I mean, you have to just kind of say, and how did that net premium look yesterday? Yeah, I mean, and yesterday it was kind of a mixed bag on that. I mean, you have call premiums and put premiums both rising at the same time, so you don't get a super clean read. Now, I'd be a little more confident in it if yesterday's premiums look like today's, where put premiums are bid side, call premiums are ask side, getting a lot of volume. Now, if it came in now and it was yesterday, I would lean more closely to them being buy to open there. But I mean, good example there where that IV decreases and it prints that next day. Plenty of times that it happens. Plenty of times textbook flow doesn't always make a move, or it doesn't run in the correct direction. It's you just never fully know, so that's why you always have to be cautious on those trades. But those rocket put calls that came in, these were really interesting to me too, and looks like they kind of made a move 59 up to 67. Quick little pop on those. So why actually it was that first candle here. So just kind of looking at that. One very, very short term weeklies, I'm very cautious with those, just with how they were why did I lose my train of thought? How they're short term and theta just eats them away. So I'm looking at that IV 172.46. So it increases here. It looks good, looks good. Now that IV starts to decrease again, increase here, and then it increases at the end. Just following this up, and then you just see it kind of decrease again here, decrease again a little bit at the end. So I mean, it's one of those kind of coin flip ones. Again, 57, they're trading at 64, 65. So I mean, it's a good move, but it's risky because one, they're 5% out of the money. Weekly expiration here. That third candle. Yeah, let's look at that third candle. I think this might be, so 187.87. So I mean, again, you're looking at it in real time here, or not real time, but when it's coming in real time, obviously you have to make a quick decision. But like when that came in here, I mean, IV increased here, spots filling at the ask, 187.87. Again, that IV drops here, and then it's dropping again too. So I mean, when you're looking at that in real time, and then it turns bid side here at the end and drops, like, I mean, you're looking at this in real time. One, like you said, Bean, you have to check that open interest. Tomorrow, I would be, I'd be inclined. How much is that second candle here? 6,000 plus 5,300. So I mean, man, I want to. I'd be inclined to say that they added to these. Yeah, I would look to see that open interest about. I mean, if all of this carries over, it should be about 30,000-ish, give or take a couple hundred or so there. If this will, so 9,000, we're going to say, so between those two candles, 15,000, maybe they took some profits there. So you see about 22,000 or so on that open interest there. Yeah, really kind of messy on something on that. Spread on now. Let's. Ooh, that might be. Let's go look at that. That's interesting there. Let's take a peeky peek here. So the 227 198 put there. So again, another good example of not knowing what can potentially be going on, because it's only 1% multi-leg, so you're going to think, okay, well, they're not multi-leg. These, let's see, short calls potentially, 82. Just all over the place here. I hate when it comes in and you get that big size and premium after the fact, and then the IV kind of bounces again too. Now, first glance, like, I might think these are buys at the bid because your IV initially kind of drops a little bit here, but then big size, big premium, it spikes. Now, the part that kind of throws a wrench and everything is that after the fact here with that big size and big premium, and then IV drop, IV rise, IV drop. Just kind of a coin flip. How far are these out of the money? Oh, they're in the money. Yeah, and that's the thing with in the money too. That actually, let's go back here and look one more time. You look at the price of that of now at the time. It's fluctuating, and that contract's going to really fluctuate because it's in the money, and it doesn't seem like a huge move, but when you're in the money and those contracts are moving 20 cents, or not the contract, sorry, the stock price is moving 20 cents or so, that's going to impact the IV and everything. So it's just kind of one of those, I don't want to say coin toss, but it's almost a coin toss. Let's look at that put though. And I'm gonna grab a drink here too. Yeah, it's one of those kind of difficult reads. If you gotta sit and guess, just on to the next, on to the next. All right, let's look at these puts. Let's look at this. Oops. Yeah, I'll pop that one up that I posted here too after we look at this put. So I think these are short puts. I'm just kind of speaking here as I'm seeing it right away. IV drops. Spot is filling the bid. I almost said spot is filling the ask. You can see I'm looking for ask side stuff more so. Let's come down here. So 82.20, again, spots filling at the bid, which would suggest these are being sold. Yeah, I would say these are probably short puts here. I'm just looking 80, 850, 30, 820, 90, 820. Yeah, I mean, that timing's all the same second here. I very highly educated guess that they're the same. Yeah, and keep in mind though, if they're selling the puts, a lot of people say like it's bullish. Now doesn't even have to move a cent as long as those contracts finish out of the money. That whale's profitable. So that's just kind of one thing. I see a lot of people just say, "Oh, they're selling puts, it's bullish." Like, no, not necessarily. You can just chop and they can profit. But these do look like they are short here. What do you got here? 907 then? Yeah, hard to know when it's that far away from that original flow, about 20 minutes or so. Otherwise, I'm just kind of looking at the 90 cents, and you're 2 days out, 6% out of the money. Odds of that falling 6%, maybe slim. I mean, a lot, anything can happen, but just again, you come in here, you look at that theta to delta. If we don't move another penny on now, you're going to lose 37 cents on that contract. These contracts were priced at 90 cents. So if we open up tomorrow, whoops, why am I going there? We open up tomorrow, 97 cents. These are worth about 53 cents then. Is my math correct there? 58, yeah. Oh, wow. Kind of got some good math going on there. So they'd be worth 53 cents. You need a $5 move here to even get back 1 day of theta. So, I mean, that's kind of what makes me think they're selling those contracts as well, too. Theta Gang usually, I don't want to say always wins, but Theta Gang is very, very good at the weeklies here, especially on those out of the monies. I mean, again, obviously, you know, service now, we have earnings for NVIDIA. NVIDIA's could just tank everything, and you just never know. Let's go find, I'm going to find those nows that I posted for that flow alert too. So let me come back here. No. So the 320.11 call. Yeah, quick little pop on those. Little drop. Trade at that 312. Not significantly up. So definitely looks like opening or a good trade here. So again, a lot of positive volume. Net call premiums up. When we look at that raw flow here, let's pop the results down. So this one's actually a really good example. Maybe, if I can get to it. Alright, here we go. So you can see, so that 943, I don't really care about that. That's 3 hours before pretty much. So IV, when that comes in, so it starts out at the bid here at 295, and then IV's down. It's a repeated hits ascending fill, so this is where you're seeing that ascending fill, that spot price increases. So it's technically coming in at the ask at 295. It's just, there's not an above the ask or below the bid or any fun stuff like that. It's just consider it at the bid or consider it at the ask. So these would be considered at the ask. Now that 295 it's considered that ascending fill. So IV spikes, spot is filling at the ask, and you can see that actually switches over to the 3 there. Just following this up. Small drop in that IV. So this is what I usually always kind of harp on. When I see it's like one contract here, that's not a huge issue. Now, if it's like the 164 contracts, that's something that's a bigger issue to me. Even more so, I mean, these filling at 299, it's 1 cent under the ask. It's a little wider bid-ask spread, so you're still filling at that ask, essentially. IV comes back up, 53.30, and you have some bid side flow here after. So different timing, but just use your educated, logical thinking skills. 100 contracts coming in at 3. We've seen other big trades coming in here. I would make a very strong bet. At least this one is related to this. So then you see that big spike in that IV. Again, spot's technically filling at that previous ask. Now, market makers could be getting that ask to go higher now. So that's why it's filling at the bid. I was kind of looking at the flow after here. Once you're starting to kind of see just those smaller sizes, I kind of start thinking maybe that's retail following along. Again, you don't really know. Even that 100 one, you don't fully know, but just kind of using your logical thinking skills. 7 seconds after the big heavy size premium, and you have another heavy premium and size coming in there, very, very likely it's the same person. So that's why I like that one there. And 6% out of the money with 23 days. Not horrible timing. You just kind of pop that in here. So this is... So like this is what I kind of like to see when I'm looking for contracts. That a really strong delta here. So you're going to lose 11 cents. If now doesn't move, you're going to lose 11 cents on that contract for the day. You can easily, that's a very favorable contract to make a recovery here if you sit down and sit through a little drawdown, and you can see that as well in that table. I mean, there's more chances here to see a probability of a return here versus those weeklies where it was just absolutely just not any. I mean, that theta was just very aggressive when eating those contracts away. So that's a good example there too. So I mean, that's something I would consider textbook there. Again, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And just looking 14 days, I mean, you don't see a lot of premiums traded on this except for back here. All right, what else do we got coming in here? Rocket Lab. I tend to stay away again. Oh, another earnings one. When it's earnings flow, I kind of don't even waste my time looking at it. And a lot of put premiums coming in here. 8% out of the money. When here we are. Oh, I don't look at earnings plays. Here we go. I mean, Ivy spikes when it comes in. I mean, I would bet they're buys, but again, you just never know with earnings. What's it looking like for that? Yeah, this thing stays within its implied move mostly, but otherwise, I mean, some big upside hits there, but for the most part, likes to stay within that move. Yeah, I am not a fun earnings. Hey, let's look at these Disney calls. These could be short calls here. So, little previous open interest. Doesn't look like it's anything related to this. Nope. And obviously, just kind of based off that size, almost 2,000 contracts here, bigger than the open interest. So, oh, this is a little interesting here. So when that flow comes in, all right, we're gonna have to remove this. Let's do this. Oops. Okay, here we go. So 1322.58 is our first time. So that IV's increasing here. Increasing, spots filling the bid. Not a lot of context on this one. I almost would be willing to say that these are being bought at the bid, just with that little IV increase there, and maybe they're just waiting to get a favorable fill there. Just, you never know. Those wider bid asks I tend to stay away from too. Just there's a lot of things that can happen with that. I mean, if you were to, now, good example here is if you were this, I'm just trying to see if I can find a kind of bigger premium here. So okay, if you were this whale, or not whale here, if you were this trader opening 5 contracts at 265, and then you get that big drop, so I mean you're losing 10 cents on that contract there because this other person's filling at the bid there. So I mean that's kind of why I like to stay away from those bigger bid ask spreads. You can get hurt, especially if you're in there for size, like if you're heavier size in there. Like if you were in 300 contracts here at 273 and then they come in at 255, 254, I mean that's a heavy drop there on those contracts. So I mean that's why I tend to stay away from the very wide spreads. Like 10-cent spread might not be horrible. Again, just depends. It's different for each name, but it's something to be aware of. And I'm seeing a lot of put premium on here. How much is this? Oh, 9% of the total premium. So it's not a huge trade on there. These could be short calls. 9% out of the money. A little longer dated there, and then you do overlap earnings though. So it's once you start digging, you just start kind of seeing little red flags there. These Netflix puts though, these look interesting. 5% out of the money. A lot of net call premium on the day here. That's a massive amount there. 5% out of the money. Let's just take a peek at these. Alright, here, where'd we go? Okay, here we are. So let's see how this looks. So I'm going to say just right off the bat, I'm going to assume they're going to be short puts. Just how am I going to just guess that right away? IV drops when it comes in. Spot is filling with the bid. Just following this up, following this up. IV staying low. Spot's continuing to fill with the bid. So now that IV increases slightly here towards the end, I would still be willing to bet they are short puts there. Again, that end just kind of throws a small little wrench into it, and it's a little bigger contract size there too, where you're seeing that IV spike. Again, just kind of one of those where they look good, but we can also look at your contract here. So they don't have a significant theta there. I mean, that's almost a really good delta to theta ratio that I would be looking for if I'm buying contracts. So yeah, that is a interesting one for sure. I mean, and this is kind of what I was talking about. I mean, you stay the same here, that whale's going to profit there. I mean, they want that to go up, obviously, if they're short puts, technically. Now, let's just switch this to the short put and see. So if they're short those puts, I mean, you can just see they collect that premium, and oops, what am I doing? I'm messing everything up here. There we go. Oh no, I gotta do the percent. Oops. Jeez, just all over the place. Yeah, so I mean, you can just see how theta eats those contracts away over time there. So even, I just don't like when they're that close to the money. I'd prefer seeing contracts that are being sold like 15% out of the money. You get a little more buffer there. Odds of a name dropping 15-20% in 9 days, barring obviously a big news release or earnings. Usually not the norm type of thing there. You can look at these Carvanas here. Just a very wide bid-ask spread on these. This one could be a potential quick in and out. You would have to double check open interest on this one. But just kind of looking at it here. I mean, the way I'm looking at it is that IV decreases on the big size and premium. Decreases here. Then it decreases here. I think these, if they carry over, which highly likely I would say they probably should, I would see these as short calls, and these are how far out of the money? 13% out of the money. So now Carvana, another good one here. You have that high theta. So like when you're selling contracts, you want that high theta because you want those contracts to essentially go to zero there. So again, Carvana doesn't move, you're going to lose 36 cents on that contract for the day. 443. So I mean, there's still some meat on those contracts, but you need about a $2 move to make up 1 day of theta if Carvana's not even moving a penny. So I mean, theta is really fun if you I'm gonna switch this to a short call here. I mean, like you just see, I mean, you just get that chop, and theta eats those away. I mean, even if you're here in March, and I mean, Carvana moves up 7%, and we don't move from anything from this area. I mean, you're still up very significantly. That's the power of theta, and that's why you see a lot of people that buy out of the money contracts get ate up real quick. especially the short-term ones. I mean, that's you will get ate up very fast. All right, let's see. Do we have anything else coming in here? Do either of you have any? Yeah. Did HPQ actually make a move in the? I honestly didn't even look at HPQ earnings. It went down. Oh, it's up now. Oh, HPQ is up now? What happened there? Oh, yeah. Ugh. Yeah, see, and that's the thing. Like, if you are playing earnings, I just always tell people, like, just, I mean, if you're trading very, very lightly and you want those, I mean, like, you have to treat earnings as a lotto. Has to be a lotto. Like, you have to be 100% okay losing what you put into that. And, I mean, like, overall here, though, I mean, like, and I'm surprised they dropped that hard too, with that much time on them. That's kind of surprising to me. I wonder what that IV was like yesterday. I mean, IV wasn't that 58's not that high. What's it at today when they sold these? Let's just look. 58. Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge thing, and you'd think those contracts would have recovered a little better there. I mean, 20% Ivy different. I guess it is kind of big. It is a very slow mover too. Yeah, it's just one of those crappy things with earnings. Yeah, and that's the one thing too. What I hate about earnings, they could beat earnings, they could look fantastic, and you could they can guide incorrectly and just ruin everything. Like I still remember one of the times I always go back and tell this story. I did a ton of research on Robinhood. This was I think like 2022, 2023. And I was like I want to do a serious earnings play and see how good I can analyze something. And went through all of Robinhood's old financials, looked at their old earnings reports, and noticed why they had a bad quarter. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting. So I did it. I expected a good bounce back quarter. They had their first profitable quarter ever, and the stock tanked. And I was pissed at that point. I was like, I am never doing this crap again because that is so ridiculous there. And it was a serious earnings play. So I had a nice chunk on that, but it sucks because it's like you can have everything correctly read the correct way and just they don't like something with guidance or they just think the stock's not going to do it again. It's one of those stupid dumb things. So, but yeah. I mean, you'd think they wouldn't have dropped that hard if they're that you got that much time on them. Stupid. Yeah, earnings are a joke. Earnings are an absolute joke. Thing interesting coming in here. But yeah, all right. If you guys don't have anything else, I am gonna probably hop off here because I'm gonna probably have to get set up with Whale Watch here in about 10 minutes or so. Yeah, dude, I tell Jay Z all the time. I'm like, dude, for how much you hit on earnings, that is incredible, absolutely incredible. But all right, you two, thanks for hanging out, and yeah, I'll post the Whale Watch link in the chat again too, and we're just gonna hang out. I think starting like 2:15ish, and then go until Nvidia earnings and stuff. So, all right, you guys, I will catch you later. Have a great rest of your afternoon.